Oh, hey, welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to another stream and another video. Welcome back to another chapter in building this guy right here. That is the F-15E Strike Eagle by Great Wall Hobbies, or G.W.H. We are building this guy, of course, as an ROKAF F-15K, South Korea. Annyeonghaseyo Yarabun. To all my Korean friends out there who watch me, thank you so much for your support. Anyway, what are we doing? Well, we're putting this away for a minute. Well, maybe for a hot minute. Because we have to work on the canopy. Why do we have to work on the canopy? Because it's coming up soon. We've got piece to put on here, we've got stuff to do. So, as you guys have already know, there is a seam line that runs along the center of the canopy, along the top there. And we have to deal with that, otherwise it looks pretty bad. So, I need to move my Gundam stuff out of the way here, and we're going to get started. First of all, let's get my Gundam pieces out of the way. This is a Gundam build I'm doing. I will be uploading the video of that to YouTube, so you guys who watch me live, you don't have to worry about that so much. Because I know you guys don't like watching my Gundam builds, especially not live, because, well, you guys aren't into Gundams, so why not, right? Why not? I don't know, because you're not into it. Anyway, so I think I mentioned before that I've already taken my hobby knife and I scraped away the little ridge on the top there. Okay, let me change to the overhead so you can kind of see that little ridge. Well, you can see now it's a white line going all the way along here. Okay, and so that needs to be cleaned up. So how are we going to clean that up? Well, it's going to take a couple of things. We're going to have to sand, and then we're going to have to polish. And that's basically it. Now, to my defense, I've only done this a few times, so if I screw this up, it's all on me. I do have, this kit was nice enough to actually give us a seam line on the front part of the canopy also, so we have to deal with both pieces. And actually looking at the Academy kit of their F-15K, they got the same line, so you can't really see it. You can a little bit. If I get in there, you can see that line in the middle there, and it looks like crap. Well, that's what we have to deal with. So I've already gone on this piece and I've cleaned this off. So to actually rub your finger along there, now you can't really feel it. You can only see it right now. So what's that going to take? It's going to take a little bit of sanding paper. I am going to use a nice fine grit sandpaper, and that is going to be, which one am I going to grab here? Which one shall I use? I think I'm going to use my 10,000 grit. This stuff is super smooth. This is like, you know, it's the 10,000 grit by God hand. I think there's really, what's this equivalent to in like North American standards of sandpaper? This is probably like, if you're looking at automotive stuff, this is probably equal to like a 3,000 grit or something like that. But anyway, I'm going to change my glasses here so that I can see this a little better while it's up close, so I don't have to keep taking them off. We are going to be eventually utilizing my Dremel with the buffing tool once we get there. So the first thing I want to do is just give this a little bit of a sanding along there just to help it out. So we kind of have to creep up on it, right? What do? They call it creeping up on it, where you get finer and finer grit. You could even do wet sanding if you wanted, but the main thing is to get it as nice as you can, nice and smooth, so basically you can almost not even feel it. And that's what you need to get to. Because then you get to polishing. Now this I can kind of still feel here, so I need to step down. I'm going to go down to 6,000 and get at this, because it's a little bit of a deeper scratch. Where I got in there, I can feel that. If you can feel it, then it needs more work. Now, I'm not pressing super hard. Of course, last thing you want to do is crack your canopy. And if you feel like, you're getting scared, you're actually making it cloudy, that's okay. You don't panic. It's part of the process. And unfortunately, there is no substitute for elbow grease on doing this. You just have to do it. And I promised you guys that I would let you see this process of cleaning this up and getting it looking better on camera rather than off. And so that's what I'm doing. Keeping my promise. As kind of painstaking as this is, it is a process. It takes a while. But when you get it all done and finished, it looks like it should. I've had some pretty good results doing this. Like I said, I've only done it a few times. Now, one thing that's a little hard to get is right along the ridge where you have your canopy separation right there, right? That's kind of hard to get in there with the sandpaper, but kind of put the edge of the sponge against there, go back and forth very slightly. That helps a little bit to get it nice and close. I don't like changing the angle of the sanding. I like to minimize that. But we're looking good. We're looking better now. So now that I've got to that point, now I'll switch to the 10,000. So the 10,000 is almost a polish. But it's not quite. It's pretty close though. As you can tell, it's already almost taking it away. I have to do this. I have to do it crosswise. Like I said, it's a process. It takes time. You really can't avoid it. If you try and cheap out and do things fast, you're going to ruin your results. I think I'm at a point where I want to grab some polish now and break out the Dremel and see how we do. It's looking pretty good. I can still see the line, although it's diminished quite a bit. So I'm going to get my polish and I'm going to get my Dremel and we'll see how we are. So I have my Dremel. Okay. Obviously not going to be using the cutting bit. We're going to be using our polishing disc. Okay. And I like to go straight with the Tamiya polishing compound, the finish, because my sanding sponges and everything can actually get me to the point. Now here's another time where I'm going to be advertising the Razor glass file, okay, because it comes with this, the balancer. And this balancer basically has this is basically the same as the 6,000 or 10,000 even. It's very good, but this is almost a polisher, okay? And you'll hear this. When this starts to polish, it's going to squeak. Okay, you hear that? I can get this thing to really squeak with this and polish that up. And it's almost like I don't need to buff it. It's very close. There we go, we get some squeaking. There we go. Yeah, that's why I really recommend this particular thing. It takes a few weeks to show up at your door, but I recommend it. Once again, disclaimer: I'm not sponsored by them. They don't even know I exist. So I'll just do that, kind of dab it everywhere. The last thing I want is heat building up. Okay, I accidentally built up a little bit of heat on my 1/32 scale Tamiya F-15E, and I melted the plastic, just a tiny little spot, and I will forever remember that. So, another disclaimer: this stuff splatters, and it kind of sucks, because even at that low speed, it's still going to splatter. I try and minimize it a little bit by using just a little bit on here to get, but it does, it just splatters. I don't like doing it over my desk because I'm going to get stuff splattering everywhere. It just kind of happens, right? So I'm going to do this and try and protect my desk a little bit from the splatter, because I want to do it on camera, and unfortunately that means splatter on my desk. I'm on the very bare minimum, very slowest, because I don't want to build up speed. Building up speed is going to build up heat. So it's slow, it's going to take time, but that's okay. We are here for the long haul. A little bit of pressure, but not too much. Pretty much just a little bit more than the weight of the gun, or the Dremel, I mean. And it's always good to check your progress as you go. I might need more speed, I might not. Let's have a look. Clean up our goop, because goop happens. And have a look. The back is looking pretty good, but I can still kind of see it. So I think we need a little more. I think especially around this area, we definitely need a little bit more. So dab this on. I'm going to speed it up just a little bit. One little notch. Because again, I don't want it. I want the speed, but I don't want the heat. The moment you start generating heat, that's when you're going to start melting it, and that's when it's ruined. You've just ruined your job. All the work you've done. So that's the last thing you want is heat. Okay. Let's have another look. I'm starting to understand why Will Paxton, is it Paxton? What's his last name? Why he likes using ZAM. It's one step, and it's not goopy. The back is looking pretty perfect. I basically can't see it anymore. But the front, I can still see right here, so I want to get here get in here. I can't feel it, but I've got a bit of a right there I can still feel. So I'm going to attack that with this. Going back a step and seeing if I can, because I could actually feel the lip with my fingernail. I've got a little bit of a blemish right there. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. There's a blemish there, right there. You see that? In the right light, you can see it under my finger. See that there? It's right there. Don't know where that came from. It wasn't there a few minutes ago. So we kind of have to dig down at that. Because where did that come from? I don't know. Where's my 6,000? Where'd that go? I want to kind of get exactly where it is and buff that down a little bit. 6,000, this is good. It's actually creates a bit of a cloud, so I know it's working. I'm sanding, I'm actually doing something here. And I think I'm at a point where I've taken that blemish. No, it's still there. Now step up to the 10,000. And now go back to this. It really does not want to disappear. And I'm not sure why. I've gotten to the point where it's polished again, and now it's gone. Okay. Alright, so back to our compound. And we're just going to do this section. Okay, I think this will be done. I think we're done. I can still see little remnants of it, but from a foot or two away, like just from my eyes, I can't see it. It's pretty much perfect. Sometimes there's just nothing you can do. There's always going to be some kind of a blemish because technically it does go all the way through, right? But it's a huge improvement over what it was, and it's pretty much good enough. That is good enough for my taste. That is, I'll be happy to have that sitting on the model, and knowing that there's no ridge. Yes, I can see it because there is really literally two pieces come together. That travels all the way through, the best you can do is smooth it out on top as much as you can and make that part as invisible as possible. But as far as the inside part of the plastic, there's nothing you can do about that. If that's visible, you're screwed. You're screwed. But anyway, that looks pretty good. So this is ready to be installed. What do we have to do now is this part. So in similar fashion, I've already taken my hobby knife and I got a little speck of red paint on here for somehow. There, gone. So I have to sand this now. So I'm going to take my 6000 and go right to the edge here with it. I'm going to sand this down smooth. I don't think it makes much difference whether you go with the line or against the line. I think it's pretty much the same either way. The only thing I want to do is don't sand in an unnecessary spot. You know, you don't need the thing, you don't need to be sanding all the way down here, you know what I mean? You just sand along the line and until it's done. See, even my 6000 grit is still kind of maybe not coarse enough. We're getting there. It's just a little elbow grease. Like I said before, it's nothing you can do. You have to put some effort and spend the time on it, because there really is no way around it. Alright, let's step up to the 10,000 and see where we are. Circular motion doesn't necessarily help you at all. It's not like washing your car. I need to get in along that edge. I think I'm at a point where we can start buffing, or almost there anyway. See what I said before, you can tell you've gotten to a point where it's super smooth when this starts to squeak. That's what I like about this thing. It starts off, you don't hear anything, and then all of a sudden it starts squeaking at you. That's when you know you're actually buffing it. Alright, that is almost perfect even without using the polishing compound. I am still going to hit it with the compound, but that's probably a lot more than I need. What'd you do that for? Now I gotta start put some fresh stuff on there. See, dropping it upside down, I don't know if I had a little fine grit. I actually did. I get some fine dust on here, and the last thing I want to do is buff that dust into there. It's the last thing you want to do. So let's try this again. This time face up. All right. Yes, if I'm going to compare the two, definitely a better job on this one. I definitely did a better job on this one. This one looks a lot better. Let's fold this up here. Clean this off. That is looking pretty fantastic. That looks really good. Now you can see as I rotate it, you can see the blemish in the middle, that it's not perfect, but that's as good as I'm ever going to get. That looks pretty skookum. All right, so let's fold this back up. Okay, so that's cleaning up the canopy glass, getting that seam out of the way and disappeared. The trick is you just keep getting to a finer grit, finer like that, in 2 or 3, 4 steps to get that, till you get to that polishing step, and where you buff it out and it looks really nice and shiny, and the seam is basically gone. That's the key. That's the main thing. That's what I did on my Academy kit. That Academy kit one, you can't see it anymore. It's gone. I just haven't done the forward part yet, and so that looks good. I like that result, which allows me now to work on this piece, which actually attaches. Whoops. Let me get that. This piece here goes on the inside of this, like so. Okay. But we have a piece of photo etch to attach onto here first. So, once again, gotta move my Gundam things and find that photo etch piece. I've got all this collection of stuff on here and half-done projects. Here we are. This little triangular guy, he's got to go on there. Sorry, I'm going to put my camera back there for you, so you can see what I'm doing a little bit larger than life. Is it larger than life? Nah, probably not. Probably still smaller than life. There we go. Bingo. So he's off of there, ready to apply. I kind of bent it in a way when I was doing that, peeling it off the plastic. So let's try and get that straight again. Straight is better. Of course, when it comes to sticking it on here, and it's going to go right there. So I need CA glue, kind of par for the course when it comes to photo etch. So I'm going to put a little bit in here. Because I find it much easier to apply it. I don't like applying it directly out of the bottle, because it just is the opposite of precision. Just barely fits in the railing there. Maybe it's not supposed to go all the way down. No, it's going to take a bit of, unfortunately, I got any Q-tips out here. No. I have to just wipe that away so I don't get excess on there. I'm going to have to shave it down just a hair. It's probably just the tiniest little nub from it being on the fret. So I'll do that on each side. Okay. You see, that's what I should have done was dry fit it first. That's what I should have done. To make sure it actually fits in between the two rails. Because it doesn't really. It still doesn't. So, file it down some more. And for consistency, we're going to do the other side. If you press too hard when you're doing this, you'll find that the photo etch just wants to move around as it catches on the edges of your file. So you have to do it light, and you gotta hold it firmly in the tweezers. Okay, now in theory, it'll fit now. Yes, fits perfectly. Took just enough off. I've actually got 1/2 millimeter of play, so perfect. Let's get back to gluing this thing. Get it glued down proper. There we go. I always like to press it with my finger just to make sure it's pressed down. There we go. Photo etch piece in. What I like to do is my spare CA glue that I've got in here, I soak it up with my toothpick, and that way I don't get a glob of it building up in there. There we go. Let's put this on my little shelf here. And that's good enough. Now, do I want to paint it as it is sitting on there? I don't have to, because I can put this in and I can hand paint that piece of photo etch later on. This piece just kind of presses in there right inside and sits like that, nice and flush. But I just noticed I have some polishing compound on the inside that if I don't clean that out, it's going to be really hard to clean out later. So let's just make sure our piece is clean here. The other thing I kind of would like to do is maybe get this thing painted before that, but it doesn't really matter. My normal kind of way of doing this is I paint the canopies first and then assemble it. But because this part sits on the inside anyway, it's not really going to be affected by my painting. If anything, it'll give me a little bit of something to hold on to while it's being painted. So I'm just going to do that first. Also, in that same sense, gluing it now, I won't be disturbing my paint job with the glue later, which tends to happen. Right now, all I'm disturbing is the primer. So that's not a problem. We just want to make sure it's pressed in there like it should be and not sticking out anywhere. There we go. We've got one more piece that needs to go across here. So let's grab that. That's this piece here. I'm going to have to refer to my instructions as to which direction this thing is supposed to face. Okay. Sits like this, and of course you want to again make sure it's lined up inside the canopy and not sticking out, nothing protruding. It should be nice and flush along this edge. There we go. And that's that. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is mask this off. I'm going to let this glue set nicely and harden, and before I really start mucking around with that. Okay, so that's basically the canopy, right? So, let's see. How much time have I got here? How much time have I got? I got some time yet. So, the instructions would have us attach the canopy right now, but we're not doing that yet. Because we got a lot of painting to do, and I don't like having the canopy on and having to mask it on the plane. I don't like doing that, which is why you notice I've got a big wad of masking tape covering my cockpit, right? Because I don't like putting the canopy on and using the canopy as a mask when I'm painting the rest of the kit. So we have that done. So we're going to be skipping this part. We've already got the air brake on. The air brake's on the plane already. And that's in the down closed position, and there you go. So we open up the next page, which is technically now halfway through the book. Halfway through, that's it. So we're going to be looking at our control surfaces. We've got our tail fins, and we're going to put those together. So let's have a look at those. First we need to find a screw with them. So here we go. So we're going to take, this is the A tree, I believe. Yes, and so we're going to take A5 and A8 and match those up. A5 and 8. This is 5. And we want number 8, which is, you would think over here, but nope, 8 is over here. Okay, let's just put that aside for a moment while we clean these up. Now, the one thing I really do like about the fact, is that supposed to, I don't know, the fact that you put these on separate is, that means I get to actually position them however I like. And I like that little feature. Because I mean, how many airplane kits do you see where they're molded in as one piece and it's always just straight, flat, done, right? You put it in there, you in fact, a lot of times your tail fins will be two pieces, two halves that you sandwich together. It's somehow some kind of funky way, but the actual fin is part of it, and you have to, it's just straight. This, I can do this, and I can put it to the side a little bit and have it turned just a hair and give it a little bit of something interesting to show that's how this plane, how the flaps go. So this is actually our right side. So I want to kind of have them, how does this thing work? And so I think I want to have them pointed in. So if this is the right side, I want this pointed in with this way. And I want it just a hair, just to show it's not quite centered. And I actually am going to have to trim this just a little bit and use my knife just to shave that edge. And maybe this forward edge too. Just so it's not quite so tight and fits a little better. So it's right on the edge of not fitting. Like you guys just heard that. It's almost like it's snapped in, but it's not quite lined up. Once I get it, it'll be there, and then yeah, there. We're just binding a little bit here, so there's a bit of a nub, a mysterious nub right there, causing it to not just sit in there perfect. Yeah, now that's perfect. So I want to have this just a little off center, not quite flush, not quite flat, just a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to show you another camera here. Not quite. If I bring my, let's move the canopy out of the way here. Put this here. You see, it's not quite, right? It's just a little bit off. That's how I want it. Just a little bit off to show, yep, that's been done on purpose. It's not like that. But I want to make sure I've got proper proper stuff going on here where it's supposed to connect. Okay, I think I'm at a point where I'm going to put some glue on it. Okay. As soon as I put glue on it, it goes where I don't want it to. How typical is that? Top. So we want it secured, but we want to make sure it's lined up properly. Almost like it's on a hinge. There we go. And in fact, I'm going to put glue where the hinge is. There we go. Alright, so that's one. Okay, so now we're going to take A4 and A10. And we'll do the other side. This one also has this little mystery nub here. Is that supposed to actually get lined up? Is there a notch? No, there's nothing. So it's just a little mystery nub they have on here to, I don't know, give you a bit of a headache. So you do that, you go to put it in and it won't line up. So learning from the other side, we're just going to make sure we're all good now. There's also here, right? Why is this nub here? It does not belong. One of these nubs is not like the other. Okay. Test fit. Fits pretty good. Now that's perfectly straight. We don't want that, so we want a bit of it cockeyed, just a little bit. We want to try and mimic the same distance on the other one. And I think just right off the bat, I'm pretty darn close. Pretty darn close. Got good placement right now, so I'll put some glue on there. I'll put it on the hinge too. So we've got 3 points that it's being glued. I'm going to line that up here. Alright, that looks pretty good. I didn't clean up my nubs beforehand though, so I have to do that now. Because we have our top little antennae that goes on these. Okay, there we go. So, looking at the antenna, we need A2 that goes on this one. Okay, A2 is going on this one, and A1 goes on this one. Okay, A1 and A2. So I think those are going to be over here. We've got 1 and 2. We could do 2 and 3 and have them the same, but we better know better than that. We know that on these F-15s they are not the same on both. So this one goes here, and that one goes there. All right. Any nubs to clean up? Just very small ones. And it's going to go right on top here. And it is kind of a tricky little fit to get it to line up. There's not much of a notch for it to sit in. It just kind of sits there like that. Alternatively, you could put it this way, I guess. That doesn't look right. So, I'm going to smoothen out this little nub here a little bit. It's not exactly a perfect fit because the piece is a little fragile. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue down here. We're not going to touch that, okay? We're going to put this aside and we're not touching it. That is a bit of a fragile little bond right now, and so we have to wait. This guy, however, he's got a nice little notch there to sit on this one. So he should fit in there. But he doesn't. So we need to taper this. Want to leave a little bit of that little thing there to fit still, but we need this thing to sit down a little bit lower, so it just doesn't sit flush. That's looking pretty good there. So let's put some glue on this. Straight, I want it lined up. And centered. Alright, and that's another piece that I want to make sure is staying put and is lined up is actually straight and it's not cockeyed. There we go. Okay, so again, I want to put this over here and not touch it until that glue dries. Okay. So there's our tail fins. The next thing is to actually put them on. And so we're just going to do a little test fit. They are nice enough to give us a short slot and a long slot, so you know exactly which side goes where. You can't mix them up. We'll see how tight or loose of a fit they are. So we got a little bit of a wobble there. Okay. But that's not too bad. I've had other kits, like say from Revell, where they don't stay on at all. And you have to use tape to hold them down. This is not going to be such a case. I can glue them set like this and not worry about it. But for painting purposes, I want to leave these off, especially for when I do paint the engines, right? So these are basically going to be left on until almost the last minute. Did I say left on? I meant left off. If I did say left on, well, we'll find out in video editing what I really said. I meant left off. These will be left off until painting time. I already have the two little end nubs on here. They have those here in the book to do next. And we have our, what do they call them? They're not wings, they're not tail fins, they are elevators. We have the elevators to put on. Those just sit in there. Now, unlike other kits where these are going to be adjustable, it looks like these just go in and they stay. I'm going to take one off of the sprue and we'll have a little test fit. Okay, let's have a look here. Which means digging to the bottom of my sprues. You're really going to do that to me? Look what this thing has done. Look at this. Like, really, missile? Let's just take that one off just because I want it to be difficult. Okay. Clean that up. There's this one. Now, I've got a bit of a nub here. I don't know if that's supposed to go in a slot, but there's a nub sticking up there. It doesn't look like it's actually supposed to do anything. And no, there is no hole, so we're going to eliminate this nub. Why that is there, I do not know. Okay, now they might want these to be glued on. They might fit tight enough that you don't need to glue them. We're gonna find out right now. I already know that the holes aren't exactly perfectly round, and as such, it don't even fit. That's the problem with aligning half a hole on the bottom of the fuselage and another hole on another half on the top. If you don't get that alignment perfect, this won't even go in there. So I need to make that hole round, and I'm going to do that with my X-Acto knife. Let's try that. It's still super tight. There. Okay, now that's a tight enough fit that I don't need to glue this. And it'll even hold whatever position I put it in, even without, you know, like a lot of times I'll have a poly cap that goes in there on the inside to give that friction. This one, not so much. So that's really cool. But that is a tight fit though. So let's look at this side. Yeah, I can see the imperfection of the hole like this. So let's make sure that does that. And this side. Now let's see what we're looking at here. Yeah, again, super tight. It's really tight and firm, and I can position that and it's going to stay either way. So, no glue required on these. It's just a really, really tight fit. That's all it is. So, but again, I'm not putting them on right now. So let's see. The next step is going to be landing gear. But I want to do landing gear kind of as one thing. So, we're going to have to wait till next time for that. One thing I did leave off so far is our little intakes. Remember our intakes in that whole demonstration last time? We haven't put them on yet. So, apparently, if you want to do them in the down position, you're going to use a piece of photo etch and cover up that little spot. It's on this one. Remember this one? This is the down position one. So we have this little spot here, okay? And we've got some photo etch pieces to put over top of this little grill. You see this grill on like every F-15. I'll show you here. This little grill here, right there. That grill right there that I'm pointing at. You see that on every one, and it's on both sides. Right there. Okay. And so if you're going that route and you're using this one, they give you a piece of photo etch to cover up that little grill. You put it over top of that. I suppose on the real thing, when these come down, this thing closes up, and that's why they've got them. I do only have two, so it's going to be on the outside only. They show that right there if you want to do that. But I'm not using this one. So, let's put it on. Let's put our intakes on. Putting the intakes on at this stage does make it pretty hard to paint. Makes it pretty hard to paint down in there, down in that little crack. That makes it a bit difficult to get into there. If that's what if you're really concerned about that, you can pre-paint, say this side here, maybe do a bit of paint in here beforehand. But that's really all it is. And so as I'm looking at this thinking, yeah, for me to get in there in that space, let me change my camera. In order to get in this space here, I don't like what I'm going to have to do with my airbrush to get in there, because I could accidentally flood it with color, and I don't want to do that. To make sure that I've got coverage on this piece on the inside, right? So I don't want to do that. So I kind of want to leave these things off until I'm at the painting stage. So I think what I'm going to do, when I'm ready to give this thing some color, the gray color, I'm going to paint these first so that I can put them aside, and then as I paint it, I will install them during the painting stage. It's just so that I make sure I have this covered. That's going to have color on it, and I'm happy. And then continue on. Speaking of PE, we have a piece that's supposed to go on right there in between the exhaust. There's a big hole. So we got a piece of PE that's going to do that. Let's put that on. I'll put that on now, and then I'm going to call it a day. Okay? So is that on this spot? Yes, it's this guy right here. Okay? So we'll do that, and then we'll call it a day. This one I definitely do not want to bend, so peel the plastic back and do that. There. Bending it was the last thing I wanted to do. And it is supposed to go in this position. Now, this time I'm going to be a little smarter and I'm going to test fit it first. After test fitting, I will switch to the overhead camera so you can see what I do. But where did my tweezers go? There they are. It's kind of hard. I want to do it on camera, but I haven't got the room to keep this in view the way I want to, and I just dropped it on the floor. I accidentally let go of the tweezer. Now where'd you go? Ah, there you are. Bear with me a moment. Okay, let's try this again. It is just going to sit on top like that, so there's no trying to fit it in between anything. It's really just going to sit there, so I don't really need to dry fit it or anything. But I do need some more CA glue. That's plenty enough. All right. Sorry, let's get overhead cam here for you. Just right in the, what do they call that spot on your body? The taint. We're getting right in the taint. Of course, this glue likes to dry so fast that even while I'm applying more of it, it's drying on me. Seems to be just where it goes, right in that spot. It just kind of floats there a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit more just so that it's got a good bond. Of course, it is one of those spots where you don't really see it. But we haven't put the arrestor hook on here yet, and that's why it's just kind of hanging. It just attached to the top part, and that's it. The arrestor hook has not been installed yet, and as far as I can tell, I haven't been told to install that yet. Probably after the landing gear is going to be my assumption. Where is it? Ah, there we go. So we want W3. W3. Let's find that guy. I'm going to put it on now. Where is the W tree? W3 right here. Okay, so I think this is going to go like that and give that guy something to actually hang on to. It gives us a little bit of something to actually so what I'm going to do, this kind of has to be a timed event. I want it to glue to this piece. While this piece actually gets glued down also. At the same time. There. Okay. And that way, this is secured better. Of course, I just pulled it off because I'm reckless. All right. There we go. So, with that installed, that's going to be it. Okay, that's going to be it for today. Next time is going to be landing gear. Okay, so I want to thank you guys who have watched. If you've made it this far in the video, why not hit that like button if you haven't done that already, and hit subscribe. Like and subscribe. Everybody says it. Even though I'm hearing now that a lot of people don't like that, don't like it when YouTubers ask you to like and subscribe. Well, how else are we supposed to remind you to like and subscribe, right? Because likes and subscriptions are YouTubers' bread and butter, right? Even though I don't make any money off of this at all. I just do this for kicks, really. I do it because, like I've said before, I do this stuff on YouTube to show you guys that you don't have to be a professional to do decent results that make a model kit look decent on your shelf, and you can be proud of the accomplishment you made. that's basically my goal with this channel. If I can help you out a little bit and give you some confidence to say, hey, I can do that and it'll look good, then I've done my job. That's all I really want to do. And meanwhile, I want you to like and subscribe and head over to my Twitch channel and follow me on there and talk to me live. Nobody talked to me at all today. Come on, guys. Like, come on. Talk to me. Talk to me, Goose. Yeah, no, never mind. Anyway, description box down below will have links to my Instagram and my Twitch, and you can check me out on there if you should. So please. And so that is going to be it for today. And yeah, we'll see you all in the next one.